The WWE TKO may be indefinitely crashing out after what we heard, what we saw, what we read today, but that is not all. Because on top of all of that, ladies and gentlemen, Vince McMahon and Triple H set to testify in the TKO merger trial. Is this going to change the trajectory of the WWE? Also, the noise around the WWE creative direction isn't just coming from fans anymore. Oh no, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to open the door on all this. Also, major Brock Lesnar SummerSlam 2026 plans unveiled, revealed, and exposed online, according to those in the know. Remember to like, comment, subscribe, click the bell, turn on all notifications, and hype up the video. Donate below with a super thanks donation. According to those in the know, some people working inside the WWE, inside Raw, SmackDown, even NXT, are privately venting their frustrations about how they're being used. Over the past few months, the Triple H-led creative team has drawn steady criticism. Viewers have pointed to uneven storytelling, stalled momentum for certain performers, and angles that they feel they lose steam without the payoff. Now, claims that the dissatisfaction isn't just external, it's inside the locker room as well. Backstage frustration and the fear of consequences, according to those in the know. Remember, for more videos like this, comment, subscribe, and turn on all notifications with that bell icon. On the 2Com podcast, it was revealed the direct ties to WWE have messaged him, direct ties, personally. Described wrestlers agreeing with public criticisms, but admitting that they won't say it themselves. The reason he claims is simple. They fear being fired or released from the company. Many talents are exhausted by the constant travel and the grind of appearing on shows without meaningful direction. At a certain stage in a career, he suggested, money doesn't always fix that. Feeling creatively fulfilled matters more than the size of the paycheck. It was also being shared that some wrestlers have told him that they support what he says publicly, but believe that speaking out would cost them their spot. If that mindset is widespread, it paints a picture of a workplace where caution overrides expression. Also, ladies and gentlemen, it seems like there is a massive creative disconnect in World Wrestling Entertainment in 2026. Also, ladies and gentlemen, according to the dirt sheets, the websites, and the newsletters, Cody Rhodes takes aim at Gunther over WWE Legends criticism before Clash in Italy. And who here is looking forward to Clash in Italy this Sunday, this weekend on ESPN? But certainly, ladies and gentlemen, that is not all. Because here on Sean's View Entertainment, we show it all, we bear it all, we expose it all, we bring you behind the curtain, because that's what it means. Remember to like, hype, comment, subscribe, become a channel member to help save the future of this website, of Sean's View on this website. But let's get into the meat and potatoes. Let's get into the heavy artillery of this video, shall we? We have a massive WWE rumor story because the WWE and TKO merger scandal just got a lot worse, and now a wild new buyer rumor is exploding online. And I want to be very clear from the very start of this video, guys. There is no confirmed report that WWE has officially found a new buyer. There is no official announcement that WWE is being sold, but because of the lawsuit, because of the deleted signal message controversy, which you can find online, because of the sanctions involving Vince McMahon and Nick Khan, and because major WWE and TKO names are expected to testify in court, fans are now asking a huge question. Could WWE ever be sold again if the TKO merger scandal continues to spiral out of control? It continues to be damning. It continues to be negative. Could TKO eventually lose control? Could Endeavor face even more pressure? Could a new buyer emerge if the legal fallout becomes too much? If McMahon goes to jail, Triple H goes to jail, or a Nick Khan goes to jail, ladies and gentlemen? And could this entire situation impact Triple H, Monday Night Raw, SmackDown, WrestleMania, Clash in Italy, and the entire future of WWE? This is not just another wrestling rumor. This is another backstage report, gossip. This is legal drama, corporate drama, creative control drama, and WWE power struggle speculate all rolled in to one massive speculative story. So let's break it down for each and every one of you. The big story is that Vince McMahon and Nick Khan have reportedly been sanctioned in the WWE merger lawsuit after deleted signal messages became a major issue in the case. That alone is a huge headline, but oh no, it gets worse. When wrestling fans hear deleted signal message, they immediately start asking, what was deleted? Why were those messages deleted? Who was talking to who? What did those conversations have to do with WWE sale, and why is this happening right before the case goes to trial? The lawsuit alleges that the WWE sale to Endeavor and the creation of TKO may have been structured in a way that protected Vince McMahon's power instead of maximizing shareholder value. That is the key allegation. That is not just whether WWE was sold. This is about whether the process was fair. This is about whether other potential buyers had a real shot. This is about whether Endeavor was the preferred option because Ari Emanuel allegedly allowed Vince McMahon to stay involved after the merger. And now, with the deleted messages as part of the story, the entire situation looks even more explosive. And that cannot be a good thing. So now we have to question the $1 million question, ladies and gentlemen. We have to ask it right here and right now in front of the viewers, the fans, and the subscribers. If this scandal gets worse, could WWE ever end up back on the market? Could they be sold? Would TKO be forced to pull out? That's what she says. Again, this is speculation, this is rumor, this is hearsay, and that is a question, not a confirmed fact. But in wrestling, speculation becomes conversation. Conversation becomes controversy, and controversy creates cash, and it becomes a video that everybody wants to click because WWE being sold again would be one of the biggest stories in the history of professional wrestling. Think about it for one moment. WWE already went through one of the biggest transformations ever when Endeavor merged WWE and UFC into TKO. For years, WWE was known as Vince McMahon's empire. Then the company entered the TKO era. The UFC connection became stronger. The corporate structure changed. The business model changed. The media deals changed. The fan perception changed. Prices went out of the roof. People can't afford to go to WWE events anymore, whether it be a WrestleMania, whether it be a live event, whether it be a Raw, whether it be a SmackDown. And now, ladies and gentlemen, because of this lawsuit, people are going back and forth asking, was the merger process clean? Was it fair? Was it really about maximizing value? Was it legitimate? Was it credible? Or was it about keeping certain people in power? That is why this story is so dangerous for WWE and TKO. That is why, not because WWE is collapsing tomorrow, not because it's being out of business tomorrow. Oh no, ladies and gentlemen. Not because TKO was losing the WWE tomorrow, but because the perception is getting a lot worse. And in wrestling, perception becomes reality very quickly. Fans are already frustrated with TKO for several reasons. They have complained about the rising ticket sales. WWE, instead of being under one umbrella with the WWE Network, you have to watch and pay for multiple different apps just to watch WWE. You have to pay for cable. You have to pay for ESPN. You have to pay for Netflix and a plethora of others. They have complained about the product feeling more corporate, feeling more less, ladies and gentlemen, but we're paying more to get less. Less time on Raw, less time on SmackDown. The talents have complained over involvement of celebrities. They have complained about talent pay cut rumors. They have complained over massive releases, creative decisions, creative directions that feel they are being influenced by executives and business partners instead of pure wrestling storytelling. And now when you add a legal scandal on top of all that, suddenly the fan backlash gets much louder. Could Saudi Arabia ever be rumored because WWE's long-running international relationship and massive events overseas? Could Disney, Xfinity, Comcast, Amazon, or another media giant ever see WWE as a valuable live content? Could they buy the WWE? Could they be bought out by TKO? Could Liberty Media or another private equity group ever become part of the conversation in WWE again? Could Vince McMahon somehow try to regain influence? McMahon himself. Mr. McMahon, or is TKO just too powerful, too profitable, and too locked in for any of this to realistically happen? That is the real debate as they go to court. This is going to court, ladies and gentlemen, and this is where you have to separate the confirmed story from the speculative story. The confirmed part is the lawsuit. The confirmed part is the court case. The confirmed part is the sanctions have become a major development. The confirmation part is that major names are expected to testify. The speculative part is buyer rumor, buyer remorse. The speculative part is whether WWE could ever be sold again. The speculative part is whether TKO could lose control. The speculative part is whether the lawsuit creates enough pressure to change the future of WWE. But that is exactly why this story is so fascinating, because sometimes the legal story and the wrestling stories collide. And right now, that is exactly what appears to be happening. You have Vince McMahon, the man who built WWE into a global empire. You have Tony Khan. You have the WWE president who helped guide the company into the modern media rights era. Then you have the Game, Triple H, the chief content officer, the face of WWE creative in the post-Vince era. You have Ari Emanuel, the Endeavor and TKO power play, who helped make the WWE-UFC merger happen. You have Mark Shapiro and the TKO corporate structure. And then you have the fans asking whether WWE's creative future is really in Triple H's hands or whether corporate executives are now calling more shots behind the scenes. That is why the lawsuits matter beyond the courtroom, because if Triple H has to testify, if Nick Khan has to testify, if Vince McMahon has to testify, and if Ari Emanuel has to testify, then this is not just legal paperwork. This is WWE history being pulled apart under a microscope. Fans want to know what really happened. They want to know who had power. They want to know whether Vince McMahon was truly going creatively. They want to know how much influence TKO has. They want to know whether Triple H is really running WWE or whether he is being boxed in by corporate pressure. And they want to know whether the TKO era is already becoming very thin and the very thing that fans were afraid of. A corporate takeover, a boardroom WWE. Even the visuals, even the look of WWE people aren't liking. From the stage to the ring to all the logos all over the ring, all the advertisements. But if fans start believing that TKO is overriding creative, that Triple H is losing power, the legal problems are getting worse, and that WWE could eventually be caught in another corporate storm, then that changes the entire conversation. And that brings us to Clash in Italy, because now this scandal is breaking at the worst possible time. Because if WWE has a controversial finish at Clash in Italy, fans are going to ask, was that Triple H's call? Was this TKO's influence? But instead, the corporate headlines are getting louder and louder. If CM Punk becomes part of the bigger world title picture, fans will ask, is WWE making a star power decision for business reasons? If Roman Reigns and Jinder Mahal have a controversial tribal combat finish, fans will ask if the company is forcing a bigger bloodline reset. If Gunther gets protected in a strange way, fans will ask if TKO is pushing in a different business direction. If Cody Rhodes loses in shocking fashion, fans will ask if corporate wanted the title picture changed. And this is why WWE has to be careful, because once fans believe there is a power struggle, every creative decision becomes suspicious. A title change becomes suspicious. A heel turn becomes suspicious. A celebrity segment becomes suspicious. A part-timer winning becomes suspicious. A surprise return becomes suspicious. A wrestler disappearing from TV becomes suspicious. Everything starts being viewed through the lens of TKO versus Triple H. The WWE is at stake. And that is the biggest danger for WWE. Not the lawsuit by itself, not the deleted messages by themselves, not the buyer rumor by itself. The real danger is the loss of trust. Because if fans believe WWE is being run by a creative vision, they can accept decisions they do not like. They can't accept that. But if fans believe WWE is being run by a corporate machine that is ignoring the audience, cutting costs, protecting executives, releasing talent and superstars that were actively on WWE, using wrestlers as assets instead of stars, then the backlash gets much bigger. That is why the phrase new buyer rumor hits so hard, because fans are already asking if WWE was better before TKO. They are asking if Triple H has more freedom before the corporate machine got stronger. They are asking if WWE is becoming too polished, too controlled, too investor-focused, and too separated from the audience. And now, with the lawsuit getting more attention, the rumor machine is only going to get louder. Could WWE be sold again? Could TKO be forced to restructure? Could Endeavor face pressure from investors? Could another company eventually try to buy WWE if the scandal gets worse? Ladies and gentlemen, as you can see, there is a lot on the line. There is a lot at stake, and that isn't by mistake. Ladies and gentlemen, what about the return of the prize fighter, Kevin Owens? Ladies and gentlemen, there's been a lot of rumor, gossip, and speculation. The feeling is that Kevin Owens could be ready to return in time for SummerTime's SummerSlam as a mystery opponent. Much like Cody Rhodes was a mystery opponent that stepped up at WrestleMania against Seth Rollins several years ago. Are you ready to see the return of Kevin Owens to in-ring action in World Wrestling Entertainment? Your thoughts, your comments, your opinions, because without you, there certainly is no Sean's View. Subscribe!